Hello there, woven web enthusiasts. Today we have a story about a gentleman that was actually happy to catch his wife cheating. And for some context, this took place in Korea, where the divorce laws and processes are different than, say, in the United States. Reddit admin Dumb87 writes in the Petty Revenge subreddit, "I never thought I'd be so happy to catch my ex-wife cheating." First off, this story occurred many years ago, and let me give you a rundown of the laws around divorce where I lived at the time. Both parties need to agree to the divorce unless one party can prove the other party is at fault. This would mean something akin to cheating, and there are also other reasons, but cheating falls into this. Now, honestly, I shouldn't have married my ex-wife, but I was young, she was pretty, I did what I did. So after our first year of marriage, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to end our marriage, and it wasn't working out for many reasons. However, my ex-wife didn't want a divorce. Her life was better being married to me than without me, and I think she was trying to hold on to that. But there was no love. My ex-wife set a price, $100,000 for her to agree to a divorce. Now this does happen here, where if one party wants a divorce and the other doesn't, the party that doesn't want the divorce comes up with a cash payment proposal, and you negotiate from there. Now, I didn't have $100,000 at the time, but I could get $25,000, and I was willing to pay that. We had no kids, we didn't own anything together, etc. Now, her and I went back and forth several times, agreeing to the terms. She finally agreed. A couple weeks after that, I was happy. I wanted to go out and celebrate. Now, to give you an idea of utterly how lucky I am about to get, her and I lived in a city about the size of Chicago at the time, several million people. My friend took me to a new bar in a new part of the city I'd never been before. We celebrated, had a good time, walked out of the bar around 2:30 in the morning, and it was like fucking Christmas. And there was my wife with another man. Now, I had a hunch she was cheating on me. Now, as this hit me with an initial shock, actually, I was super happy. She was heading for a taxi. This was back in the days of taxis. I ran and got into a taxi right behind her, told the driver to follow him. Now, much to my enjoyment, the taxi was going to my house. We get there. She gets out. I pull out my camera, take a few pictures of her kissing the guy. After that, I approach the two lovebirds. I introduce myself, I thank the kind gentleman, and I make one request. If they want to have sex, don't have sex in my house. That was my one request. That's it. I then take out a business card and hand it to the guy, and I thank him for all the money he saved me and tell him if he ever wants to go grab a beer, I'd be happy to buy him a few rounds. I wish them well, go in my house, go upstairs, go to bed. Now, to say my ex-wife was livid was an understatement. However, the next morning she pointed out something that I had no idea could possibly be a problem for me. But it did concern me. She said that since we had already agreed to divorce, it wasn't really cheating, and I would still have to pay her. Well, that afternoon I get a phone call, and it's my ex-wife's boyfriend. He apologized for sleeping with my ex-wife. I told him no worries. He then says he'd like to get together and take me up on that offer of buying him a couple of beers. We agreed, and we met up. It turns out he'd previously been cheated on in another relationship, and apparently my ex-wife lied to him about her relationship status. She said we were waiting for our divorce to be finalized, which was not true, and that she didn't live with me anymore. Also not true. He also asked me if I'd had sex with her in the last 6 months, and I said I had. So it turns out he started seeing her about 6 months prior, and they were sexually active the entire time with each other. And she told him she wasn't having sex with anyone else, and specifically she wasn't having sex with me. Whoops. I asked him if he had any documentation of this, and he ended up emailing me several receipts and pictures they had taken together at different places. He also sent me numerous screenshots of text messages between her and him, complete with dates, some of which included her clearly lying about her relationship status with me. So I put all this together, saved it on my computer, uploaded it to a cloud, saved it on a separate USB. I then went to my ex-wife, and I had a sit-down with her. I went over the mountain of evidence I had against her. I presented her with two options. Option A, she agrees to a non-contested divorce. I'll give her 30 days to move out. She gets nothing from me. I get nothing from her. Option B, I get a lawyer, I fight her, and I sue her. And in this country, I had grounds for a lawsuit against her, which could have resulted in her paying me. Not surprisingly, she chose option A. the non-contested divorce. Now, this was on a Saturday that she agreed to it. That Monday, we went to the courthouse and filed for divorce, and this started the 30 days for her to move out. I told her I was going to stay with a friend. She could have the house to herself. We had a court hearing a few weeks later, and the judge made it clear we were doing a non-contested divorce. And once he stamps the divorce decree, we have to report this to City Hall, and our divorce will be finalized. Note, us not having kids or property made it quick and easy. We both agreed, we both signed, judge stamped the documents. I eagerly grabbed my divorce decree and rushed to City Hall to report my divorce, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I was a free man. And to start off the comments, Sarko writes, good story, but man, if I lived in a place where you have to either prove that your spouse has done a specific thing or both agree to get divorced, I would never even consider getting married. There's so many ways people can trap each other in the terrible circumstances or ruin each other's lives if you can't just get a divorce because one of you wants to. And responding to that, exactly. Does this place actually exist? How many long-term married couples do they have? It does not make sense to me for a man to marry anyone when the woman can simply refuse to divorce you because she doesn't want to, or you're not paying her enough to divorce you. And even with the mountain of evidence where she was cheating, the worst thing that could happen to her was apparently not getting paid. I would very much like to know where this place is so I can avoid it and tell everyone else to avoid it as well. And OP responds here. This was in Korea. Both Japan and Korea have similar laws around this topic. Also, some countries like the Philippines is even more extreme where divorce isn't even a legal concept. Also, I'm a firm believer if you decide to marry someone, you are pretty confident you will be with that person for the rest of your life. Granted, it doesn't always work out like that, but hey. And Kelsifer writes, another thing, in Korea it seems to be that the one petitioning for divorce cannot be the one at fault. And for the final comment, Iglidante writes, that is how divorce worked in the United States until no-fault divorce became common, starting with California in 1969. And as for me here at Woven Webs, this story shows that it actually could be worse than being in the United States or some other Western country in regards to divorce laws. You could be in Korea or Japan. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments. If you're enjoying the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It certainly helps me out. I appreciate you listening.